Tanishka, we can start now if you are okay.
Yes, sure.
We can start. Tanishka, continue.
So should we wait for more people to join for 2 more minutes or just right now?
Uh, we can start now.
Okay. So good evening, everyone. Thank you for each and every one of you for being here with us today. We are very pleased to be able to welcome those of you that have been with us for more than months now, as well as those of you who are new to the community. For the past several months, our community, .mark, has organized n number of events and we have always tried to provide best from our side. For the very first time, we have organized an event on such a scale where we are exceeding our own limits for the benefit of you guys. This initiative will open so many doors for you and we promise to bring more exciting events very soon. Now, when we talk about Neev, the whirlwind of tech, it is an initiative
Tanishka, I think you are not audible. If you can reconnect. We are reconnecting. Please wait for a minute. It was due to some internet issues. So let me continue from here till Tanishka is joining. So Neev, the Whirlwind of Tech is an initiative from our side which introduces a series of 9 distinct events that promises to build a foundation for the knowledge of any specific domain. Neev, which means foundation, that is the underlying principle of your wall structure. We bring to you these various events that will pose as a foundation to your advanced knowledge in future. It is no secret that if your basics are clear, there is nothing in it that you cannot understand. This initiative by us help you take the first step to achieve the clarity you make your foundation strong. We want you guys to come up and specify what are your expectations from Neve in the comment box. Please specify your expectation from Neve in the comment box. We will be monitoring the comments. Tanishka, you can continue from the next paragraph.
Yeah, sure. I hope I'm audible now.
Yes, you're audible.
Uh, all right. Now, coming to the things that we will be learning throughout the whole event. First, we will learn about 6+ technologies that are useful in each and every company in the entire world, and we ensure that these are the things that will make your CV stand out from others. Technologies, for example, Linux, Git, GitHub, cybersecurity, AR, etc. Secondly, we will organize quiz nights. Now, some of you might have attended these quiz nights that we have organized and they know that they're real fun. For making learning better, we will quiz night every Monday evening. thirdly, we will be having Project Arena, where we will be learning from live projects. I hope you all have followed some tutorial to gain knowledge.
And Tanishka, you are not
Hmm.
audible again.
Uh, I
And now
am
you are
not
audible.
sure.
Now you are audible.
Hmm. Am I audible now?
Yes, you are audible. You can continue from the third point. Thirdly, we have begun Project Arena.
Okay. So thirdly, we will be having Project Arena, where we will be learning from live projects. Now, I hope that you all have followed some tutorial to gain knowledge in any domain. And what we believe, if some projects are included while teaching, it will help the students to have a better understanding of the technology, and then they can easily start working on their projects. We all know after whatever we learn from theories and practical, it all comes to building a project to visualize and understand the actual implementation of the technology. Now, we will conduct this Project Arena session every weekend, that is on Saturdays and Sundays, where we aim to pick a project from every possible domain and keep it in our front of our audience. So attend these sessions and it will be a plus.
Let me continue if there is a problem with Tanishka. Lastly, we have Tech Talks where we will call a webinar with the industry professional and you can ask any doubt you want and you can take their help in future too. Now, if you have not registered for the Neev event yet, go to neev.questionmark.com and get yourself registered. We will share the link in the WhatsApp group itself. If you have not registered, please register yourself. Now the question arises, why we should choose Neev? Let me answer you guys. Neev is organized by dot question mark community. So let's give our next 5 minutes to understand what dot question mark is. Dot question mark is a vast community that can be termed as your gateway to opportunities, which organize different events, talks, etc. We at dot question mark organize a lot of events so people acquire the best knowledge about the technologies that are required for best skill set in your CV. We have organized 15 plus webinars in the interest of students from all field of interest, be it tech, non-tech, gaming, etc. We have conducted many boot camps providing vital information to students about their leading tech. Our most recent fest, Hacktoberfest, is a regaining success with a lot of people joining us. I guess that is enough to have you guys believe in us. Now let us jump to the technologies, and I say it will be the utmost part that we will have exceeded our limits. First is Linux, learning the operating system that the whole world is keen to learn with the best teachers and enhance your skill set like no one else. Cloud computing with AWS. Let us have an hands-on experience with cloud computing. Soon comes GitHub, augmented reality, cybersecurity, and Docker. We have given much thinking to the days to decide what will be the better for which part of the new. So Tuesday to Friday will be reserved for the lecture session. We will have Monday for the quiz night and tech talks. Also, you have weekends free for the project arena. I guess this was enough to have you guys started, and now we can begin the first session of Tech Talk. The mentor for today's session is none other than Mr. Suman Debnath, who is a principal developer advocate at Amazon Web Services. He also has previously worked as technical lead focusing on QA automation, performance and tool development efforts toward NVMe over fabric engineering solution. He expertise in delivering technical training and workshop and is the author of more than 30 white paper published for Broadcom, IBM, Hitachi, and he is also a frequent speaker at various national and international conferences. You will be glad to know that he developed performance monitoring tool for barcode FC switches and even developed tool for VM Boston performance benchmarking. So let us welcome Mr. Suman to the live stream. Suman sir, you can please unmute your mic.
Hey, hi. Thank you so much for such a warm welcome. Can you hear me, guys?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Okay, great.
So, so
So,
there are
yes,
some of the basic FAQs that we would like to get answered from you first. So, what is AWS and what is cloud computing? As everyone is so much looking for cloud computing things. So, what exactly is cloud computing?
right. So, basically, in layman's term, what cloud computing is basically if you want to do any compute or anything for that matter, you generally used to go and buy a server or a desktop or a laptop for that matter. But with cloud computing, you don't have to do that. So it's kind of a rental place where you can just go online, create your own account, and you can just rent your resources. So it can be storage, it can be a virtual machine, it can be a database, whatever. And once you are done with your usage or once you are done with your experiment, you can just destroy that. So it's not like you have to buy something and after you experiment you have to sell that, and which is very hard, right? When we buy something and let's say we want to sell that in OLX, we get a lot of depreciation, right? When we think about any items. So similarly in cloud computing, what the platform that we provide is basically you can just come in, you can experiment, you can scale your business from one city to a whole country, from one country to multiple countries in just a matter of minutes. So you don't have to worry about where the data centers are, where is your hardware, and all of that. So it makes you more agile, and that makes you a better engineer because you can experiment fast and you can learn from your mistakes and go ahead with your learnings.
Also, sir, we are aware that various cloud computing platforms are available like Google Cloud, Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure. So, what do you think about Amazon Web Services in comparison to other cloud computing providers?
Right. Yeah. So, just like anything else in the market, we always have competitors, right? And it's always good to have competitors because at the end of the day, you are the developer or you are the customer, you should have, different options, and you are the best judge, to pick up which one is good. So, if you have seen various platforms from various companies like Amazon, you are the best person to pick, and I always recommend everyone that you should try, different things. I can tell from my perspective, being in Amazon for more than a year, is the pace of innovation that we have, we have in our culture, and which is very much visible. The in our product portfolio is enormous. So we actually ship features every minute as we speak. So it's a huge set of feature sets, it's a huge set of services that we opt for and which we give our customers. And one of the thing is which I really love about Amazon and AWS for that matter is most of our features and most of our services, almost 90% of them, are driven by customer request. It's not like we in the engineering team we just come up with our own ideas and build products and solutions. We don't do that. So most of the time, almost 90% of the time, all the requests come from the customer. So we kind of work backwards. So we learn from customers what they want, and then we start trying to build that. Okay. So that always gives you an upper edge with respect to others. Every vendor tries to work for their customer. I mean, there is no second thought about it. But the way that we develop products and solutions from day one, it has been always a very customer obsessed organization. So that way, I feel that if you are trying out AWS and you have something which you don't see that on our platform today, if you raise a request and if we get some real value in that, not only in for what one customer but for many customers, we will surely push that to some product in future. So I think that is one of the edge that I feel from a cultural perspective as well as from the broader product services offering perspective that we have.
Thank you, sir, for such an informative session. As For now, Amazon Web Services covers the almost 50% market of the cloud services. So, what do you think are the future trends related with AWS and how AWS can help the students in developing a better approach for their future?
Right. Yeah. So, when you talk about students, right, when, especially when you are in college or university doing your, bachelor's or master's, I personally feel you should not be focused about a particular vendor, right? Although I work for AWS or Amazon, and I always want you to work, use Amazon. But if I just put my title, back of my shelf, I would recommend everyone to just focus on technology and try to build things. Whether they are doing it on AWS or in some other platform, doesn't matter. Wherever you feel like you can do that, and you will be the best person over a period of time to select the right platform, rather than some random person like me telling you which platform to use. And that doesn't make any sense to me as well. So I feel that going forward, cloud has been the thing, almost 4 5 years back, and now it's very normal. It's kind of a new normal. And the beauty of this business was, when we started our business in 2006, and for the first 6 7 years there were no competitors. So it was kind of like, Amazon have monopoly in the, in the market, in some sense. But after that we have various vendors, coming from various organizations, and you as a customer or you as a developer have lots of option, and which is good. Okay, we should not have only one vendor doing their stuff, right? So I feel that from a skill set perspective, the focus should be more on your core area, whether you are a machine learning engineer or a DevOps engineer or a application developer or a front end developer. I mean, you can decide your track. It's not possible to learn everything, and it surely doesn't help in long term. You can always have a breadth of knowledge, but you should soon decide some vertical, so that you can focus there more, and then use cloud as an as a platform. Don't just learn cloud just because you need to learn cloud. Not like that. So you might want to become a very good front end developer or a very good machine learning engineer. Just focus on that, and when you do that, you would need infrastructure, you would need tools, you would need a platform, you would need a framework to develop your application. Only on those cases you come and utilize a cloud platform like AWS. So the focus should be on your core development of your product, and that is what we always tell our customers, that we will make your environment very easy, so that you don't have to think about infrastructure, scaling, security, then disaster recovery and all of that, so that you can just focus on your application. So I would recommend that for a student, that focus on your core skill sets, or whatever you want to become in next 4 5 years, and focus on that. And during that journey, just use cloud as a native platform, so that it's not like after 5 years you have become a very good developer in Java, Node.js or whatever, and then you start learning cloud. Have that learning parallel. And the way that this technology spec are changing, you will never be confident to say that I know everything. And that is the case for everyone, at Amazon itself. So it's not like you have to know everything, but you should know where to search for things when you actually need. So, and that would be my thoughts or my perspective towards learning.
So let us finish the Q&A session and let us start with the hands-on session.
Sure.
As you can share your screen, I will put it on the cast.
Okay. All right. Okay, let me know if I think you are able to see my screen.
Yes, your screen is visible.
Okay, great. So let me just put that in presentation mode. All right. So when I got this request to join all of you guys to have a session on introduction to cloud computing, it was very easy to say that, yeah, surely I will. I would love to come and talk. But when I started to work on it, I was thinking that what we should talk about, because introduction might be uh, might be a very trivial thing because there are so many things what to pick. So I thought that we will try to make it little interactive. So I cannot see your chat, but I will surely go through, over the period of time. But when I am in presentation mode, I cannot see your chat or questions. I will try to address that, when I exit out from here. We will try to focus on the hands-on part. So slides are just for just for your reference, and I'm going to share this. Maybe I'll share with the organizer, and they will share it with you, so that you have some pointers. So don't worry about all the jargons that you're going to see. Okay. So what we're going to do is we will just do a quick insights about cloud computing, what cloud computing is, and we will try to pick up two areas which might be interesting to you. One is serverless and one is machine learning. So I myself focus on machine learning and data analytics at AWS. So feel free to ping me after the session, over LinkedIn or Twitter, or in whichever format you wish, so that I can help you with your learning process in the days to come. It should not be just like 1 hour or 1.5 hour session, and then we don't know each other. It's not like that. Okay. So what I want you to uh, do is, for next 1 hour, is just focus on some of the things that we are going to discuss, and I want you to dance like this, in your mind, that you have learned something by 8 p.m. today. Okay. So it's not like I really don't want you to waste your time, because this is a festive time. I'm very sure that you have parked 1 hour time for this. I'm really glad for that. But I really want you to learn a small thing, and then you might take that learning from that point onwards, maybe from tomorrow. Right. So if you feel that it's boring, and if you are not getting something which you actually thought of, just put that in the comment. I will try to help you out after the session, and you can just drop off. Okay. But don't waste your time if you think that things are not going in your way. Okay. So as I just discussed, what AWS is, we provide a platform where you can, build your application, and we can give you network, compute, storage, database, and a lot of many, managed services over the web, or rather over API. So you don't have to go and buy servers to install your operating system, create a virtual machine, and then start writing code. You don't have to do all of that with cloud computing. So you can just create an AWS account, and you can log in from anywhere on this planet, and you can just get started with it. Okay, so this is the beauty of AWS. So why you want to move to AWS, or why you want to learn cloud computing for that matter? So there are a couple of very genuine reasons, and those are basically common sense, right? One of them is cost reduction or cost saving, because you're not putting a initial investment, right? So you are just using it when you actually need, and once you are done, you can just destroy that, and you can get away with it. And other thing is, you can innovate faster, because you will be able to put more time on your experiments, and you can innovate faster. That is a normal algorithm, right? That if you can spend more time on experiments, you can come up with better results over a period of time. And the one of the most important thing which I feel is, in today's world, is the agility and the product development productivity, or development productivity. So let's say you have built something and it is working pretty good today, and tomorrow there was a new feature request came from some customer, and you really wanted to work on that. Imagine that in a physical world, you have to order for servers, infrastructure, and then you have to start writing, designing your application, and then you have to start writing the code, and then testing, and then GA, and the life cycle is pretty long. But that would make you not that agile, right? Your go-to-market time for any product or feature will increase. But with cloud, you can just start writing the code. You can just start writing, designing your application. So you don't have to worry about all of that. So you become more agile in that sense, right? And obviously, if you are on cloud, you can do merging. Like, this is not relevant for you guys at this point. Maybe once you work for various corporates, you will see that during the life cycle of any company, there are a lot of mergers and acquisitions. And when two companies merge together and when they are in cloud, it's very easy, with respect to when they have two different data centers on this planet to merge their data or put their consolidate their data. Right. So these are the few basic reasons that why you can consider, cloud computing. And what are the consideration that you should have for cloud compute or to move to cloud is a few things that we have already discussed. Is the breadth and depth of the services that we have, that you have a lot of options to experiment. Okay? And there are various services, not only the core services, but the managed services are enormous. Like we have more than 180 services and more than 2000 feature sets, and the list just goes on. Right, and we are going to have the reInvent 2020 in next month. I would strongly recommend you to join. So reInvent is the annual tech conference from AWS, where we actually launch all the new services and features and all of that. So it's a 3 weeks virtual event. Feel free to join that. And another thing is, you can make use of machine learning, which is kind of a part of all the businesses today. And you don't have to be a machine learning engineer or data scientist to do that. Even if you are a software developer working as a front-end developer or a back-end developer, you can always make use of machine learning when you are, developing the application on cloud. So let's look at few of the core services of AWS. So these are lots of icons that you don't have to focus on all of this, but the point I am trying to make is we have lots of services, and what we are going to focus on today are we'll try to see the compute part, which is the virtual machine. You can think of that. That let's say if you want to create a virtual machine on AWS, how you will create that. That is that comes under compute section. There are many services, not only for virtual machine, but there are for serverless, containers, Docker, Kubernetes, etc. But storage, compute, then networking and database. These are kind of the basics of any infrastructure, right? So you should know the few basic services that AWS offers in all these core services. And on top of it, whatever services that we have, those are kind of managed services, and that you can build or that you can learn over the period of time. Right? That's nothing you should focus on at this point if you are getting started with it. So as I mentioned, our roadmap is almost driven by customer requirement. So that's a very good thing if you think about it, that we are very much customer obsessed in that sense. So this is the first thing that you should know, that how you can just log into the AWS console over maybe a browser and start developing your application, how you can do so. The way that, the reason that you could able to do so is because our infrastructure is, spread across the globe. And the way that it's spread across is through regions. So we have 24 regions. So you can think of regions as a place where we actually have our existence. So there only you have the physical server, storage, and everything, right? So we have 24 regions total and 77 availability zone as of today. So availability zones are nothing but the actual physical data center. So a particular region might have more than 2 or 3 availability zones. So in India, we have an availability zone in Mumbai, and next year we are coming up with the next new region in Hyderabad. So by next year, we will be having 2 regions in India. Okay. But as of now, it's only in Mumbai. And there are 5 new regions coming up in Jakarta, Indonesia, Italy, Japan, Spain, and South Africa. Okay, so this is how the whole infrastructure is laid down for you, and you don't have to worry about all of that. So when I said that you can expand your business from one country to another country within just minutes, what I actually meant is, let's say you are running your business today from India, so probably you will be using the closest region, that would be Mumbai or maybe Singapore, and let's say you want to expand your business in the US, so you can always pick some region in US, and you can just migrate or you can just scale your application, so you don't have to worry about the data movement and all of this, right? So that's the beauty of the platform. So let's talk about the core services. The first is the EC2 instances or Elastic Cloud Compute. That is the virtual machine service on AWS. Okay, so EC2 is just a fancy name, but you can think of it as a virtual machine. So that is the actual Linux or Windows or an Ubuntu system for you, which you can just SSH from your laptop. Okay, or you can just open it from your console. So you don't have to worry about the servers, hypervisor, and all of that. Everything is taken care by AWS, and we use our own proprietary hardware and hypervisor. You can just select your operating system, and we are going to see that in the demo. You can just select the operating system, and you can just SSH through some SSH key, PEM key, or using username and password, right? So that's easy too for you. The next thing is the storage
Sir,
side.
can I, sir, there is a
Yes.
question why the name EC2? Elastic Compute, can you explain the Elastic Compute to them so that they can know what is the scalability?
Right. So the elastic term means which is scalable, right? So that's the whole point of elastic, and this prefix has been used in most of the services. In the next service, we are going to see in the storage side called EBS, that is Elastic Block Store, which is for storage. The reason that we can name this as elastic, I mean, one of the reason, the actual reason might be something else, but from the intuition that one can get is you can scale your application. So you're even not only in your application, your instance as well. So let's say you're running an instance with 5 virtual CPU. You can always extend that to maybe 6 or 12 virtual CPUs. You can scale your application from one instance to another instance seamlessly. So you are not bottlenecked anywhere, right? So you can always based on the workload, you can always add instances, and not only you need to increase that instances, it can be automatically done in a predictive way. So once AWS see that okay, there is a lot of workload coming in, I need to have a new virtual machine for this application, so it will automatically create an instance for you. So that's the whole idea of about being elastic before every service. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir, you can continue
Any
further.
Okay, thank you. So similarly, we have EBS, that is Elastic Block Storage, and that is the storage offering. So this is, you can think of it as a external drive or internal drive that you attach to your server or your desktop or your computer, right? So here we call it Elastic again for the same reason, because you can expand and you can attach a drive from to one instance as well as to another instance. So let's say you have a virtual machine or EC2 instance here, and you have connected an EBS storage, right? And tomorrow you have deleted this or just terminated this instance, and you have created another EC2 instance or a virtual machine. So you can always connect this back to this instance and start your application. And not only that, you can even share storage across instances. So all of these are possible. That's why we say you can detach and attach between instances, and you get a different options of the storage that you may would like to have, like SSD based storage or spinning drive storage, which is an HDD backed volume. So there are lots of options. You can always choose what satisfies your need. And on the database side, we have lots of different database services based on the type of data. If it is a relational database, and like MySQL, then Postgres, we have RDS or relational database service. If you want to have the data in the key value pair, we have DynamoDB, and these all are very, very highly scalable. So you don't have to worry about the scale. Then we have Elastic Cache for in-memory, for graph. We have Amazon Neptune. So the idea is there are lots of different specialized database for different types of data structure or different types of data. Right? So you can pick the database of your choice. And the last thing on the storage side is S3, Amazon S3. So Amazon S3 is a simple storage service, and which is the most popular, and this is one of the first service that was launched in 2006. And this is nothing but you can think of it as we call it as an object store. But if you are hearing this term object store for the first time, you can think of it as as a place on the cloud where you can just dump your data, just like how you use Dropbox, right? But in Dropbox you don't have much flexibility, as an end user. But in S3 you can actually just dump your data. You can share your data with anyone, and this S3 can be integrated and is integrated with all the other services that we have in AWS. So you will not find any customer who is using one of the service in AWS but not using S3. Right? So S3 is almost used by every customers and every developers, right? So that's why you see all these different services, right? All are different services. Recognition is a machine learning service. Comprehend is a machine learning service. Kinesis is a data analytics service. SageMaker is a machine learning service. So all these services need some data to work on, right? So and all those data is stored in S3, and we call it as a data lake. And what it essentially means is your own storage place or repository where you can just dump your data, different types of data, and you can access it with very low cost, and you can do a lot of analytics, at very cheap. At a very cheap rate, so you don't have to worry about the format and the type of data that you are dumping. So you might dump CSV data, you might dump text data, you might dump images, PDF, whatever. We have platforms and intelligence to actually see what data you are putting in there. We cannot read your data because it's your data, obviously, but we just make your data durable and scalable. So we have, I think, 11 lines of durability, and that means that data will be always available for you no matter what, right? So that's one of the service that we have.
Sir, can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Sir, there is a question from the audience, like, is AWS also support the critical data storage? Like, for a company, if there's critical data, can they trust AWS for it? And also, how S3 is different from Dropbox or any Google Drive server?
Right. Yeah. So first thing is, can we store critical data? So all the customers that we have, especially in the federal side, like who are into government research areas, there the data is the topmost importance, right? So we have a lot of security compliances in place, and it is much more than the security compliance that any on-premise company have. Or if you are a company and you are purchasing some hardware and making your own data center, that may not have those many certification from the security standpoint which we have. So your data is always secure. No one can even look into your data. In fact, as an Amazon employee, we ourselves also won't be able to get inside the data center. And to be very honest, we ourselves do not know where our data centers are. Right. So the security level is quite high, and that is one of the topmost importance for us. The second question is how it is different with respect to different other services. There are a lot of other features that we have, and S3 is kind of an enterprise class object store. And the reason that I say that is you can do a lot of things which you cannot even imagine. So one of the things would be, let's say you are putting lots of data, and those data are in CSV format or JSON format, right? So imagine if I tell you that, okay, can you, let's say that your data is a time series data, right? So every row has some timestamp, okay? And I tell you that, can you tell me the users who logged in your application from, let's say, 30th October till today? So that means you have to run some SQL queries, but you cannot run an SQL query on a CSV file, right? And that also you don't even know what is the format of your CSV file. But we have service which runs on top of S3. We call it as they are Glue and Athena, where you can just dump your data, okay, and you can just run a SQL query, and the schema will also will get automatically detected from Amazon or from AWS. So AWS will automatically detect the type of data, the structure of the data, and it will tell you the schema, and you can just run an SQL query and get the data back. right? They get the result back. This is just one simple thing which is coming in my mind, which I've been working on a couple of weeks back. But there are many other features, mostly in terms of durability, security, and performance. So it's very, very high performance. All right. So you can archive your data. You can use this data as a repository, and and you can access from anywhere on this planet. So there are many different features that we have. Talking about S3 might take a couple of hours, because if you want to get deep dive into this. But if you're just comparing with other general services that we use, like Dropbox, those are okay for our day-to-day work. But this is kind of has an enterprise class usage, where you are not only dumping your data is getting into S3 via some application. Like, let's say if you are Zomato or if you are Swiggy, think of that perspective, that how those front-end applications are using storages for their organization. So there you will get the actual use of S3. Okay. Does that answer the question?
Yes, sir, that answered the question. We can continue further.
Okay, so now going forward, how you can get started with AWS? You can, I would like to skip this, but you can always, get the resources, trainings available, and in our website. Also, you can create your own account. And if you are into college, and if you have a college ID, you can create an free account without the need of credit card through an AWS Educate program. I can share that link as well if you're interested, and you can get started with it, and you will get $100 free credits. And there are lots of reference architectures are there, and you can follow that, because as you might have made an intuition that we have lots of services. But when you want to build an application, you have to thread those services together. So it's kind of a Lego block. You have to connect one service with another service, right? Like EC2 with S3, S3 with Lambda, and a lot of other things. So how to get started with that? So how you can get an idea about all of this? So you can use the reference architecture web link, where you have lots of standalone and proven architecture, and you can just read through that. You will get an idea about how things work in real world. All right, so I guess we spoke a lot, and let's try to see a few of the things which we have just discussed. Okay, so I'll just come out of this and just show you. So this is the AWS console that you will get into once you log in. And if you see in the right-hand side, here is the region. So we have 24 regions, as we were discussing, and you can pick the region that is nearest to you. So as I said, we have a region in Mumbai, and Hyderabad is coming up. So maybe next year, when you try to look into this console, you will find Hyderabad as well. So by default, it would be North Virginia, US East 1. And here, let's say, if I want to create an EC2 instance, I can just search for EC2 here, or I can come down here and come to compute, and EC2, you can find it here. So all the services are categorized under some domain, like developer tools, machine learning, front-end, web, and mobile, and all of that. But you can always, I find this more easy to search here. So the way that you can create an EC2 instance is pretty straightforward. You come to this console, and you can just click on Launch Instance. And I'm showing you everything in the UI, but you can very well use CLI or any SDK. So we have Python SDK, we have .NET SDK, whatever SDK that you want, or whatever language is your preference, you can do that. So you can always select the operating system. So there are different operating systems available. So let's select Amazon Linux 2 and click select. And now we are going to see it will ask you for how much compute and how much memory you want. Okay, so there are few instances which comes under free tier. That means when you create an AWS account for 12 months, you will have a free tier, and you will have lots of services. Almost majority of the core services will come free with some limit, and that limit is pretty high. You can always learn during that 1 year time frame. So you can select the instance type, and if you see that this comes under free tier and it comes with one virtual CPU and 1 GB of memory, you can always change that, and you can select the instance of your choice and click on next. And then there are a lot of different configurations. I'll just skip over all of that. It's not that important at this point in time. But one important thing is you can always give some user data here. And this is the script which will run or which will trigger at the time of boot. So a lot of times in our real world work, you might want to run some put up script, right? So this is the place where you can put that. Next is you go to click on next, and it will ask you to attach storage, right? So there are different types of storage, SSD and then magnetic or HDD. By default, it's 8 GB. You can always increase, the capacity, right? And you can also select whether you want to encrypt the data that is being stored in your drive or without encryption. So in any real world work, you would like to increase, use encryption. You can always click on add new volume, and this is as simple as that. You just click and add new volume, and you can just give some size, let's say 100 GB, and it will attach another drive of 100 GB. You're not going to do that, so but I'll just delete that. Okay, so if you see here, one thing, if you notice here there is a check button called delete on termination. So this is what I was telling, that let's say you terminate a virtual machine, you can still use the drive attached to it with some another instance, right? So this is, if you uncheck this button, which is by default, uh, if you terminate your virtual machine, which we are creating now, it will not terminate this second drive. So it will not terminate this EBS volume, and you can always connect this EBS volume to some another instance. Okay, so that's why when you click on new volume, by default it will be unchecked, but the root volume, it will be checked, terminated by default, because that will just contain the root file system, right? So you will typically, when you create a virtual machine, you do not put the user data in that root file system, right? So let's click on next. This is just to for housekeeping, or you can always create some tags. So let's say user and name is Suman, right? So the way that the reason that you can do this is you can automate things, and you can say that okay, I want to check all the instances which are owned by Suman, right? So you can just run run a script to see what are the instances that this particular user is having. So we are not going to use this, but you can click on next, and then this is the security group. So you can allow access to your instance, SSH access, or HTTP access, and all of that. So you can, by default, SSH is open. So you can do that. You can add rules here, and you can just launch. You can just give skim through the summary that what we have selected and click on launch. And here you have to create an SSH key, because this is the key that you're going to use for login. So I guess I have this. I'll just quickly check this. I have one key, I guess. Okay, Linux. Yeah, so I'll use this key because I've already created. If you want to create a new key, you can always click on create new key, right? So let's use the existing key. Okay, so now it will take a couple of moments to create. So now if you see, if I click on this, it is saying the state is pending, right? So it will take some time to create this instance, right? And once it is done, you will see that it is in service. Okay, so it will take a few moments. In the meantime, I'll show you S3. Okay, so I'll type S3, and I'll open it in another tab so that we don't lose where we are now. Okay, so before even we go there, I guess this instance is ready. And the way that so it is saying that it is running, and we got an IP address as well. But to connect to this, you can just come here to the action and click on connect, and it will tell you that what exactly you have to type. Okay, so you have to just type sh -i, the PEM key, and the EC2 instance name, right? So let's go to our console. This is my laptop. Okay, so I'm just opened my terminal. I just pasted that same command. Okay, so I'm doing an SSH, and the username is EC2-user. This is the user that AWS creates for every instance. This is just the fingerprint confirmation, and I should get the login. So I'm here with my EC2 machine. So now you can use this machine for your work, right? So this is how simple it is. So if you see that it has 8 GB of drive, that is the root file system. You can also see memory, how much memory it has, right? It has 1 GB of memory, right? So this is how easy it is to log in, create an instance and get started with it, right? And let's say you are done with your instance and you don't want to use it for any other work. What you can do is uh, you can just click on that instance, because this is the instance that I was working on, which we have just created, right? So we can just come to action. So I guess I've selected multiple instances. You can just stop the instance or you can terminate. So let's click on terminate. So now what is happening is it is actually destroying the virtual machine and also the root file system. And once this is being destroyed, you will not see that in the console. Okay, so at this point, you will still see that in the console that it is shutting down. Okay, so once this is done, it will just, it will be removed from this console. All right, so now let's go to S3. So this is the S3 console. Okay, there are lots of buckets that I've created. So bucket, you can think of it as a folder, although it is not a folder. But you can, once you come to the S3, you will get to this console. You may not see all these buckets because, when you're doing for the first time, you'll not see this. I have, have lots of buckets, so that's why you see so many buckets. So let's say I create a bucket called, and bucket are globally unique name, so you cannot have duplicate names. So every bucket on this planet on S3 are unique. Okay, so if I just say Suman, probably this name won't be a unique one. If I just click on create, it says that bucket name already exists. But if I say Suman 202 and let's say 1234, I guess this might be a unique name. So let's try this out. Okay, I just clicked on create and this bucket got created, right? So now if I just go to this bucket, right, there is no file, nothing is uploaded. I can always click on upload and I can upload a folder completely, or I can just upload some file. So I can just click on file and let's say I click on some random file and I'll just click on upload. Okay, so now this file got uploaded and you cannot access that because I have not given the permission to access it globally. But if you just click on this file, you will see the path. So this is the path of this file, and if you see, this is an web URL, right? So you can simply click on this and you can download, right? You cannot do that because this bucket is not publicly open now, but this is how you can upload, files or folders or anything, right, on S3. All right, so there are a lot of different things that you can do, but this is the basics of how you can get started with S3. All right, so now that we learned a little bit about compute, a little bit about the core services like virtual machine and storage, let's try to understand what serverless is. So as we have just learned, when we talk about EC2 machine, we are talking about virtual machines, right? But you might want to have another level of abstraction. Let's say if you want to work on a container side, many of you might be aware of containers, but container is basically, it's an abstraction on top of virtual machines. Basically, it's not even virtual machine, because in virtual machine you need to have multiple operating systems, right? So let's say you bought a hardware, and if you want to create 5 virtual machines, you have to have 5 five different or five types of operating systems. So you have to install operating system five times, right? And then you have to run some your application on all these virtual machines. But if you look at it, you wanted that separation on your physical hardware, but this operating system is a hindrance for you, right? So that's what container comes in, and it helps us to avoid that duplicate requirement of operating system. In container, what happens is you just have one system, and on top of it you can have either Linux flavored operating system or any Windows flavored operating system, and on top of it you have to put the Docker engine, right? I mean, there are different engines available, but let's talk about Docker. So once you have Docker, then you can have an isolated environment, right? And which we call it as a task, and you can run your application. So your application are still isolated, just like in the case of VM, but in the VM you need to have five different operating systems, right? But here you can just create five different containers, that's all. So we are talking about the unit of scale is at task level, right? Whereas in the virtual machine world, the unit of scale is VMs, right? So like when we say unit of scale, that means how you will increase or how you will scale your application. So in EC2 instance, to scale you have to have another EC2 machine, right? Similarly, in container world, you need to create another container. So the container service that we have is called ECS, or Elastic Container Service. But now let's say you even want an ultra level of abstraction, where you actually do not want to run servers or configure application, nothing, right? All you need is you just want to run your code, that's all. And that is where you would use some serverless compute service. And the serverless compute service that we have in Amazon is called AWS Lambda. So there are different serverless services that we have, but for compute, AWS Lambda is a service. So what that means? So why do we actually need Lambda in the first place when we already have containers, when we already have virtual machines? The reason is the servers, because there are lots of different requirements when you deal with servers. You have to have handle of hardware failure. You need to manage the workload. Although in AWS you don't have to worry about the hardware failure, it will be taken care by AWS, but there are lots of different tunings that you need to do, or choices that you need to make, like operating system, then configuration changes, OS patches. Today, different operating system vendors comes with different patches, right? So these are all very, these are nothing but it adds hindrance in your development life cycle, because you as a developer, you just want to write your code and that's it, right? So that's where Lambda comes in. And what Lambda or what serverless can do is basically it can give you a platform where your code will be triggered only when someone is triggering, right? So to give you an example, let's say, okay, let me give this example. You might have searched in the internet to convert a document into PDF, right? And what you end up doing is you get some website and you just go there and upload your document, and it downloads the PDF, right? So think of that application. Let's say you are a developer of that company, and your manager or your product team has told you that, okay, can you just come up with an application which can take a document file and it can convert it into a PDF, right? So if you want to develop that app and want to deploy that in an EC2 machine or in any physical machine or virtual machine, what will happen is your application will be always up and running. But the thing is, when no one is accessing your website, at that time also your physical machine will be up and running, and that will cost you money, right? So AWS will bill for that because your EC2 machine is up and running, right? Although no one is accessing that website, right? Just think about Dream 11, right? So just like Dream 11, when people were accessing Dream 11 most of the time, only when the IPL match is going on. Do you feel that anyone will log into Dream 11 website in the midnight when no matches is running on this planet? I mean, that is very unlikely to happen. There is something or other thing will always happen, but you get the idea, right? So serverless or Lambda will give you that opportunity where you can just write your code, Okay, and your code will be executed only when there is a trigger. So the example of that trigger in that last example, the reference example that I just shared, where you upload a document to your website. So that uploading a document can be a trigger, and then once that your code got triggered from an upload, your code will be executed. And once your code is executed, your code will generate some output. So for that problem, the output would be a PDF file. So excuse me, so you can just throw that PDF file back to the user, right? And once that is done, you will not be charged at all for anything, because there is no infrastructure that you are managing. So in the backend, under the hood, AWS is creating a container for you to run your code. And once your code execution is over, that container gets destroyed, right? So that is how it works. And we support a different, language like Node, Python, Java, C Sharp, Go, Ruby, and so on. So basically, you can think of Lambda or serverless as just a function, right? So a lot of time people talk, that as a function as a service. But I prefer to call it as a serverless in general. That is more accurate in technical terms. Okay, so the idea is you don't have to manage anything, you don't have to provision anything. It scales automatically based on the use. You will never pay a single penny when it is idle. That is the most important thing. You might create an application running on your laptop or your desktop, and you need to keep it open, right, whole night, right, so that if anyone access your website in the midnight, it should not see a 404 error, right? But in serverless, that doesn't happen. Serverless, it will always trigger only when, it will always kick in only when there is a trigger, right? So you don't have to pay when your infrastructure is not being used by your end user, right? So you can get that in your free tier when you create an AWS account. By default, you get 1 million free requests, because Lambda is all about trigger, and we are going to see that in the demo. And you can get 1 million requests for free. You can always experiment with this. And even after that, the charges of Lambda is very, very, very less, right? So it will be like in cents, very less when you compare it with any other services. So as I said, serverless is not only Lambda, but there are different services which are also serverless. S3 is another example, because when you don't use it, you're not charged for that storage, right? If you don't have any data. And there are different other services. I don't want to get over there, but now I guess this is the best time to get into the demo and show you how this serverless works. Okay, so let me exit out from here. Okay, so the task that we are going to do is this. Okay, so let me just set the problem. So I have an image. Okay, so let's say this is the image. Okay, if any of you are from Calcutta, you might know this. This is a Victoria Memorial. It's a fantastic place, and one of the fantastic places in Park Street. So I want to build an application which can generate thumbnails. Okay, so this is a big image, right? And I want to make an application which can generate a thumbnail of this particular image. So I want a small image from this, right? And how I will interact with the user. A user will, we don't have time. Otherwise, we could have developed a small web application. But the way that we will do it is, we will upload this image on an S3 bucket. And the moment there is an upload, it should trigger that Lambda function, and that Lambda function will not be anything but a small Python script, right? So let's try to do that. So let me first show you how you can go to Lambda. Okay, so you come here and you should select type in Lambda. So this is the Lambda console, and you can do this through UI by click on create function. And there are different ways that you can create. You can create from scratch. You can do a blueprint. When you click on blueprint, there are a lot of templates that you will get, right? So like S3 get object, legs, book trip. There are a lot of different templates. So when you say templates, when you select this, you will get a boilerplate code, when you configure it. So we are not going to do that. Let's do this from scratch. So let's say I name my Lambda function as my first demo. Okay, and you can click you can click here and select the language of your choice. So let's say it's Python 3, and you can just click on create. Okay, so why you need a runtime? Because Lambda need to know the code that you're going to write is of which language, so that it can create a container with all the binaries and dependencies which is needed for your application. So see, the Lambda function got created, and now there is no trigger. So this is because I have not added any trigger, right? So this is a simple Lambda function, as you can see. And if you can, I guess I should increase the font size. Yeah. So if you see that there is a simple Lambda function, and this function takes two arguments, event and context. So event would be the details of that trigger. So for this particular problem, there is no trigger, but in real world, we are going to have some trigger. So the demo that we are going to show, we are going to see will be a trigger from an object upload in S3. So object is nothing but a file. You can think of it like that. So when we upload that image that we have just seen, that should generate some event, right? And we will do something with that object. Okay. So for this case, we can just create. We have just shown you how you can create, right? But let's say you want to have some in your code. You want to have some function or maybe some library which is not, let's say, some library, let's say torch. So this is one of the package for deep learning, right? So but torch is not installed. How do you install it here, right? It's not possible, right? So the way that you will typically do it in a real world is using some third-party tools, and I'm going to do that in a moment. But I just want to tell you that how you can package a serverless Lambda function with dependencies, and we are going to see that how you can do this. Okay, but for now, let's test this. So we can always click here and configure a test, and we can just give a name. Let's say my test. This is just to test where your Lambda function is correct or not. Okay, so if you see, this test will send this event. Okay, so it will just have key 1, key 2, key 3, value 1, value 2, value 3. Okay, so let's give some name. Let's Suman. Okay, Ravi, and let's say Rashmi. Okay, it's just 3 keys, just a simple hash or dictionary. I just create that, and now I can just I'll just decrease the font so that you can see the code. So the code that is going to run, but it is not going to read the event, because that details should come in the event, but in the body, what it should return is hello from Lambda. And I can say, I am Suman. Okay. And let's say I save this. Okay. And deploy. Okay. So now I can run that same test. Okay. And let's see what happens. So if you see the logs, you see that it has printed hello from Lambda. I'm Suman, right? So the reason that it did not print anything which we have configured in this test is because in the code, if you see, I have never used this event, right? I have never used anywhere this event, right? And which we are going to do in our demo next, okay? So now this is just to give you an intuition how you can get started with it in your command line. But as you have might thought that if you have any such dependencies, like let's say import torch, or let's say import xyz, anything, right? Any package. So all this package in Python, how you typically do it is you put it in a requirement.txt file, and then you ship it, right? So here we are going to use another framework called Chalice. Okay, so if you search AWS Chalice, so this is a Python serverless framework which you can simply install in your laptop, and which can help you to create a Lambda function from the console itself. Okay, so this is what we are going to do. It's very simple. You just have to do a pip install. Okay, so if you just come here, yeah, you just have to do pip install Chalice. Okay, which we have already done. So what I am going to do is, this is I am into some folder. Okay, and we are going to, and chalice is already installed. Okay, and inside this I just have two files. You can just ignore these two files. Okay, this I have created because we are going to use this, because I don't want to waste time on typing. So the way that you can create a lambda function using chalice. So if you want to know more about chalice, I can always have a session on chalice, or you can ping me, I'll tell you more about that, but it's nothing that fancy. Okay, whatever we have done in UI, you can seamlessly do this from CLI. Okay, so what we can do is you can say chalice new project, and we can give some demo. Okay, so let's say I say my demo. That's all. Okay, so now if I do ll, you will see that there is a folder got created. Okay, and now if I just get inside that folder, let me clear the screen. You will see that two files got automatically created. Okay, one is requirement and one is app.py. This is the actual function which we have seen in the UI. So in the UI, if you remember, this is the code, right, which is lambda underscore function.py, right? So this is the same code, but here its name is app.py, right? That is fine. We can have any name. So the next thing is we have to write the code, right? So what we are going to do is we will just edit this app.py. Okay, so it got created in opened in a different terminal. So I'm going to delete all of this because by default it comes with a boiler code. Okay, so this is the code, which is very, very simple. I'm using chalice, and since this is a wrapper around the AWS CLI, we are using a decorator here, right? So you don't have to worry about all of this, but the idea is we are going to upload a image into a bucket, and I should be able to convert that into a thumbnail. So the way that we are doing is we are taking this event, and this event we are defining is as whenever there is an upload in this bucket. So let's see what this bucket is, because this bucket I have already created. So if I go to S3, okay, if I go to S3 and if I just search for this bucket, we have this bucket, right? And inside that there is no file, right? So what I'm saying is if any object comes inside this bucket, then you trigger that lambda function, and the bucket name is my bucket input. Okay, similarly I have another bucket called my bucket output. Okay, and this is the bucket which we are going to use to create the thumbnail and then saving it. So this is the destination bucket you can think of. Okay, after processing that image, I will do the processing and then I will dump it here. Okay, so that's the whole idea. So in this line we are just saying that, okay, just trigger this lambda function whenever you see any object coming into this bucket, and I want to make sure that the file that you are uploading is a JPEG file. Okay, so it should not trigger when a text file got uploaded, right? I don't want that. And then this function is very, very simple. I'm using a tool, sorry, a package called temp file and pill. So temp file comes by default in Python, which is kind of a temporary file that it creates, and pill is basically used for image augmentation or anything related to image. Okay, so I am creating a new file called temp file. Okay, and in a write mode, and I'm just reading. I'm just download. First, I have to download the for this code to run, I have to download that image, right? So I'm downloading this image from that bucket, and then I am using that pill. I'm using this image package or pill package to create a thumbnail, right? So I'm just creating this thumbnail here where I'm calling image.thumbnail, and I'm already opened this using pill, right? And I've just created the thumbnail of size 256 by 256. And after that, I have to save that file into that bucket, right? So this is how I am saving it. So the way that you can save it is using S3 client dot upload file. And what is S3 client? S3 client is nothing but the S3 instance. So one thing I forgot to tell you is Boto3 is the package in or SDK in Python to access any AWS resource. Okay, so if you type boto3.client then ec2, then it will create an ec2 object and then instance of that class, and then you can create instance or delete instance or whatever it is, right? So that's the whole idea, right? So basically the thing that you should understand from here is you are triggering this lambda function whenever there is an image of JPEG format into this bucket, and you are creating a thumbnail out of it, and you are saving it, that saving the thumbnail in a different bucket. That's all. Okay, so I'll just save this and I'll just close this. And the next thing that I need to do is I need to make sure that my requirement file, because requirement is an empty file, right? I need to make sure that the requirement file have those boto3 and that pill library that we have, right? So I'm just adding these two lines, right? So now if you see cat, so these two are there, right? So this is how you can package. So how you can package, you don't have to do anything. You can just say chalice deploy. That's all. So what is internally happening is, because I have started this project by running this command, chalice new project my demo, right? So it already have all the details about this particular folder, and it knows what is your application and what is your requirement. And what it is doing now is it is creating a zip file of zip folder with all these packages, and it is going to push it to the AWS cloud. Okay, so let's wait, give it a couple of moments. Okay, so if you see that the package is, the application got deployed, and the application name is this, the function name is this. Okay, so let's go to the Lambda console. So let's search for Lambda. We have already opened this. So let's search for Lambda. And we can see that this is just got created 29 seconds ago. If I just come inside, okay, so we are not now, if you see, we are not able to see the code because it is already zipped and you cannot modify here. And if you see now, there is a trigger called S3. In previous example, there was no trigger, right? So now we can just go to that folder, and that S3 bucket. And if you remember that S3 bucket name, that was, I guess, my bucket input, and we can upload some image. So let's pick that image. So this one, you can drag and drop, come here and click on upload. So now the image is getting uploaded and it is a JPEG format. And so now the image got uploaded. So now we should expect a thumbnail in the destination, right? So we can go back and we can search for that output bucket. And if you see, there's a thumbnail got generated just now, okay, 7:15, and this also shows that I have overshooted the time. Okay, so let's download this and see how this image looks like. Okay, so now it got downloaded, and let's click on this. So here is our thumbnail, right? So this is how easily you can create a Lambda function for your application, right? So now that no one is triggering, now I am not uploading any of the image. There is no infrastructure cost. The only infrastructure cost that was cost to me is when I uploaded, and that just for a fraction of seconds. That's all, right? So that's the beauty of serverless. So that's all I have on the serverless side. And I actually wanted to talk a little bit about machine learning, but that might take 15 minutes more. So I'll let the organizer decide if you want me to continue, or we can just take questions at this point.
So we can continue for the next 5 to 10 minutes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. So the last thing that I wanted to show you or give you an intuition is on the machine learning side, because this is the area that I focus on. So there are various services. I don't want to get into there, but all the services are stacked into three different layers. And the first layer, and the very bottom layer, is actually for data scientists or engineers who really want to have an server with very high compute with GPUs and CPUs, right? And the way that you can use them is you can just create an EC2 instance, just like we have done a while back. But this time you can say, let's say, deep learning, and you can select the instance. And what you will get is, you will get all the GPU enabled uh, systems with a very powerful GPU and CPU, as well as very high memory. If you see here, it's all 400 gig of memory, 700 gig of memory, right? And all of that. So you can just simply create those EC2 instance just like we did before, but this time we are not using a small tiny virtual machine. We are using a very hefty machine with GPUs and CPUs. And once that is done, you can just activate the virtual environment. Everything is already built in. So let's say if you see here, if you want to run PyTorch code, you can just say source activate PyTorch, because there is a virtual environment created for that. You can just activate and get started with it. This is for people who are expert and you just want to use AWS, with different frameworks like TensorFlow, PyTorch, and all of this. And then there is another layer of service, which is the most interesting for any software developer, is the AI-based service. So this is the layer where you can do a lot of other things like object detection, sentiment analysis, recognition, and all of this without writing a single line of code. By saying that, I mean you don't have to write any code on the machine learning side. So you don't have to build and model, training and model and all of that. You can just send a REST API call and say that, hey, I want to know whether this image contains any public vehicle or not. So this is an image classification problem, right? So you can just do that because the model training, everything is taken care by AWS. So all these services are API based service. So that means that you don't have to train and build your model of your own. Okay, so we have various services. One of them is recognition. You can do celebrity recognition, you can do object detection, facial analysis, you can detect text on a stored video. This is a very good project if you would like to do. Imagine that in Bangalore especially, we have lots of traffic, right? So you can think of that like I need to detect all the vehicles which are breaking the signal, and you can detect the numbers from the number plate of those vehicles. So it's basically you have to detect text from a stored video, because your data will be coming from a CCTV camera from every maybe every signal, right? So that you might like to use recognition. So the way that you can use this is very, very simple. You create a bucket, and like you can say bucket name, and then this is the image. Let's say this image might be coming from your other application and in the pipeline, and you can create an recognition client. Just like if you remember, we have created client.s3. Similarly here also we are doing that session.recognition. There is the only difference between session and client, calling it directly boto3.client, and here we have created a session and then calling recognition. Is when you do this, it stores all the metadata of this particular session when you have actually logged in. So it gives you more flexibility and more information for that particular session. Okay, so and then you can just call this API client.detect faces, and you can just give the details of the bucket, and that's all. And it will return how many faces, because there is a face detection. So it will tell you how many faces it detected, and it will create a small bounding box. So it's amazing, right? And you don't have to worry about how to build a model, train a model, and all of this. You can just use this API. Similarly, you can do celebrity detection, and this time you have to create a call a different function called celebrity recognize celebrities, and you have to pass the file, right? And it will detect that whether this is a celebrity or even if I upload my image, I'm not a celebrity, obviously. I mean, for obvious reasons. So my details will come under unrecognized faces, right? So now it is an empty list because Roger Federer is a celebrity, and it is able to detect that, and it will also tell you the name of that celebrity, right, and the IMDb link for that particular person. Similarly, you can use poly. Poly is where you want to to convert text into an audio. You can use poly for that, where you can pass a text and it can create an mp3 file for you. Um, Similarly, okay, this is just the how you can run that. Same process. You have to import Boto3 and you have to call create a poly client, and then you have to call this function synthesize speech, and you have to give this text. Okay, and in return you will find a mp3 file. Okay, so you can just do that. So the point I'm trying to make is it's pretty simple to get started, right? And this is one of my favorites. Service called Comprehend, where you can do sentiment analysis, language detection, key phrase analysis, and all of that using Comprehend. So let's say I say a text like "I love Amazon Web Services," and you might have seen when you go for shopping in, let's say, Amazon.com, you straight away go down and read the reviews, right? So in Amazon, what we do is we read through all those comments, and based on that, obviously not an individual person read that, but we use Comprehend to detect the sentiment of all those comments, and so that we come up with some star rating, let's say 4.5 or 3 or whatever it is, right? So you can get to know the sentiment of any text or any comment, whether it's a Twitter feed or in LinkedIn or in any social media. You don't have to have a person to read through all of that and come up with an analysis whether the comment for your session or the comment for your lecture are good or not. Okay, so if you see here, this text is quite positive in nature, right? I love Amazon Web Services, and that's why it came up with a prediction of positive sentiment with a confidence level of 99%. Right? So this is how you can use any AI-based services. Okay, so this is again for medical Comprehend, where you can pass some medical information, and it will automatically detect that this contains a medical information. Like here, we are saying that take Cerelac for 84 mg daily. So it has automatically categorized this as a medication, and it figured out there is a dosage, and the dosage is 84 mg, and it also detected that it needs an frequency, and the frequency is daily. Okay, so Comprehend Medical is an next level service which is built on top of Comprehend with a medical understanding. Okay, so it has this AI service has been trained for medical information or medical practitioners. So in US, all the medical transactions between a doctor and the patient need to be stored in an e-format, right? It's not there in India, although we are going there, but there it is very drastically used, right? Where you can store all of the information in a nicely formatted way. So we touched upon the bottom layer, we touched upon the top layer, and the last thing is the middle layer, which is SageMaker. And this is the place where a data scientist or a developer like you, if you are interested in machine learning, you might spend time on, because here you will get, you can prepare, train, build, deploy models. Okay, so you can pick Torch, PyTorch, TensorFlow, or whatever, right? And you can create some notebooks, and that notebooks are, if you are into machine learning, you know what notebooks are. So notebooks is nothing but a simple Jupyter notebook, what you can install in your laptop, or you might have installed in your laptop. But when you run a notebook on SageMaker, you can get all those modules preloaded, right? And you can just go and start writing your code. You don't have to manage the versions and all of that. Okay, so I guess that's all from my side. Okay, so now I guess I spoke a lot, but before we close off, I want to give a small 1-minute demo about the AI-based services. So this is a web application which the team has developed, and it will give you an a way that how you can use these AI-based services. So this particular web application is running in, I guess, it's it's using Node.js, and internally it is calling those API services, API calls. So if you remember, uh, in the backend, it uses all this code. Okay, it is in Python, but you get the idea, right? So it might be in Java, .NET, or whatever. So let me show you one example. So let's try Comprehend. You can always access this website, AI-services demos. Let's say you can try Comprehend. Okay. So let's say I say thanks so much for joining. Okay, and if I just click on analyze comprehend, it is going to detect the sentiment for me. So it says that sentiment is 99% positive. There is no entities because this doesn't have any entities. If I say I work for Amazon, if I click again, now you see an entity, and here it automatically detected that this is an organization. So what is an organization? So Amazon is an organization. So you get the idea, right? So it's very powerful. I have not written a single line of code to train these models because these are already there in AWS. All you need to know is these functions. Okay, all these methods: detect sentiment, detect entities, detect syntax, and all of that. So lastly, let's try recognition. So I think for recognition, I need to switch on my camera. So let's try to do that. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I want to show this camera, so show this phone, and let's see what it detects. So if you see, it has detected that it's a cell phone. Not only that, it also detected that it's an iPhone. Okay, so it also detected it's an electronics gadget. Let's see what else I have. Let's try this. Let's see again. Okay, so here it says pen. I guess it could not able to see. Let's try again. It could not able to see the pen. I guess there's too much noise here. Okay, I guess there's too much. There is no light in my room. Sorry about that. But you can always try this, and you can understand how powerful these services are. Okay, so with this. I would like to end the session, and this is my LinkedIn account. Feel free to ping me. You can message me if you have any queries. And going forward, I would love to learn from you what you are exploring and what you are building. I will try to help you there. I focus on machine learning, as I said. If you have anything around that, feel free to ping me. Not even if it is not AWS related, I would love to help you there. And in general, if you have any queries at any point in time, you can just reach out to me. Okay, so with that, I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you, sir, for such an informative session. Thank you for joining us. Continuing further, so please, guys, subscribe us on the .mark channel as the further events will be conducted on the channel itself. Also, we have posted a post on the LinkedIn for your review. You can review the today's session on the LinkedIn itself, and there is a Google form which is scheduled for the attendance purpose. You will get e-certificates for the ones who will fill the form, and there are some simple questions that we have asked about the AWS services. So please answer the questions so that you can have the e-certificates with you. We will share the link in the live session. Let me share the link.
I have shared the link, Kshitij. You can continue.
Okay. This is the Google Form link which we have shared. We will also update the link in the description of the YouTube video. You can watch the video again if you have any queries, and we will share the PPT with you. Further about the timeline of the event will be like, on Monday we will be having tech talks and quiz night. Quiz night is when we ask you questions about some technical terms and we will give you goodies. And from Tuesday to Friday we will be having live sessions. Live sessions basis on the technologies that we are teaching you. From tomorrow onwards, we will be starting the Linux sessions from 5 to 6 p.m. Also, the Saturday and Sunday will be there for the project arena, where we will be teaching you the different projects and you can add them to your resume. So thank you for joining us. The Neev event is powered by Incubate IND, And we also have some college partners like MIT Academy of Engineering and DY Patil. Some of the community partners are CU Coders, Atnica, MTC, and Interna. Thank you for joining us. You can please do not forget to fill the Google form for the attendance. Thank you.
We will share the link on the WhatsApp group. Don't worry.